Hi, I'm David Harry, and in this video I'm going to be running a number of microphone tests with GoPro's Hero 5. Them tests are going to consist of this microphone, which is a Sennheiser ME66 supercardioid condenser head on top of a K6 power module. Now the idea behind these tests is to see if I can match up a professional shotgun mic with a GoPro 5. Now the reason why I'd want to do this is because I firmly believe that the GoPro 5 can produce some really cool pictures. Now I don't really do action cam stuff. I do a lot of like narrative stuff and docu type things and interviews. Now in instances where you would need like a really tight small system and you've only got a confined space, or you've only got like a one-man operation, you've got to get in and out as fast as possible, the chances are you might be able to get some of these shots, especially in linear mode on 2.7K with the 5, and using a microphone like this, it should give us like the absolute best opportunity for getting the best audio that we possibly can. Okay, so that's the basics about why I'm doing the test and what it's for. And plus also, I've had a look around on YouTube and I've not seen any like proper shotgun mics like this being used with the Hero 5. So I just thought, well, I can't find one, I'll do it myself and see what it's like. Okay, but hang around to the end anyway, because there's some very interesting results that I have to discuss at the end, because not everything is peachy and rosy with the GoPro Hero 5 and its microphone interface. Oops, sorry, I forgot to mention during the introduction that through all these recordings, I'm just going straight in and it's not being pre-processed or anything before it goes in. And then when it comes out, when it's in the edit system, there's no normalization, no compression, no limiting, no re-leveling, nothing. So whatever you hear all the way through this is straight in and straight out. Thank you. Okay, so we're outside now, and what we're doing, we're going to use the GoPro's internal microphones, and that's just to give us a baseline for something to compare against that we would be familiar with, or at least anybody who uses a GoPro 5 will be familiar with this sound. So like I say, this just gives us something that we can compare the following takes to. And this microphone is actually now just set to stereo, so no wind, just stereo. So basically bog standard mic setup for the internal microphones. Okay, so I'm now on to the first test for the Sennheiser, and the configuration that I've got here is standard, and I've got it in raw low. So basically it's the first setting that you get within the mic selection of its the type of microphone that is and its sensitivity, and then switched on to raw but with the lowest possible processing going on. Now in effect this should be giving us the best possible sound quality that we can possibly get through a microphone inserted into the camera. So now what I'll do, I'll flip over to another setting for the microphone. So this particular configuration is standard but not raw. So what we're doing here, we're just recording straight to with the video file, and this is going to be very convenient because you don't have to resynchronize any audio files in post-production within your edit system. So yeah, like I say, this will just give us another option to consider for the different configurations, the way we can set this camera up. So this particular configuration is standard plus and set to raw low. So this is basically the same as earlier, but with the standard set to standard plus. So what we should be hearing here is some kind of a gain. Now I'm not entirely sure what that gain is until I get back and listen, but by the time we're hearing this, we will have already heard the standard version, so we'll get the difference between them two levels. So this particular configuration is standard plus, but we're not recording in raw mode. So this is as is the way the camera would normally record in stereo. Now what this is going to be good for is because we might like this sound compared to the others, I don't know yet, or different people might like this. Now if this is preferable, what this means is that when you record in this type of configuration, you're not having to like resynchronize any external audio back to your video again. So for convenience, this would be the best way for convenience, without a doubt. So now I'm on my Sony AX100, and this is just to give ourselves another comparison with something outside of the GoPro in order to kind of get a gauge of audio. And just like the GoPro or the GoPro's mic adapter, this uses a 3.5mm jack input, which allows me to do the exact same test with the same mic and the same cable and everything. So this is a very fair comparison to what we've just been doing with the GoPro tests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So the first test that I'm going to do on the GoPro is to use its internal microphones. Now this is set just to normal stereo mode, so there's nothing special going on, just bog standard stereo mode for the internal microphones. Two reasons for doing this. One is people who have got the GoPro 5 are going to be familiar with this type of sound, and those who haven't heard it will also get an idea of what that sounds like as well. And the second thing is that it sets us up properly as a baseline, so we can see what the real differences are when we use an external mic through the actual audio interface. So I'll just crack on now and get on with the external microphone. So I'm now onto the Sennheiser, and the settings that I've got in the GoPro are standard and raw, low, or low, raw. Now between these settings we should be getting a nice clean signal going through with the least amount of processing going on. As to the level, I'm not too sure, but we'll get onto that when we go to the plus mode as well, and then we'll see what the variations are between its standard and its standard plus. So this configuration is still in standard, but we're not recording the raw audio on this one now. So what we're actually doing here is just bypassing the separate file, which is what the raw generates, and this is actually being interleaved with the video file. So this is the standard AAC audio recording, and we're just in standard mode. So it'll be interesting to see what the difference is between this and what the previous take was, which was actually doing the raw version as well. And also it'll be a good comparison for the next couple of tests as well that I do. So once again, this is standard but not in raw. So the configuration now is standard plus, and we're doing it in low raw. Now what this is going to do, it's going to add more of a gain to the input than what normal standard is. So standard plus just boosts it a bit more. By whatever amount, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll gauge this on the playback anyway, and we can hear what it's previously done. So yeah, like I say, once again, this is standard plus and in low raw. So we're still in standard plus at the moment, but this time we've switched off raw. So again, what we're doing the standard way that the camera would work, which is to create AAC audio with H.264 video, combine them together into a single file. Now, the reason why people might want to do it this way as opposed to shooting with the raw element is because doing it this way, you've actually got a single file for one clip. Now, what that then means is that when you go into post, into your edit, you're not having to like remarry two separate things in order to start the edit. With these types of files, you're straight into the edit. So this might be good for some people, and some people might prefer this sound. I don't know, we'll have to see what happens at the end after we've recorded all the takes. So now I'm back onto the Sony again, and although I've used this on the intro for the introduction and whatnot, I'm going to, just to keep the formatting of the way I'm going to cut it, I've just cut back to it, and it's just, you know, so we get this comparison indoors as to how this sounds compared to the variations on the GoPro. So okay, so this is probably enough now, enough conversation from me to give an idea of how this is sounding indoors compared to the previous GoPro takes. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of do a bit of a summary on the tests and some of the stuff that I found during the tests. Now, this summary is probably going to ramble a bit, you know, because that's just what I do. So, yeah, you know. The other thing is, because I'm probably going to stop and start because I'm doing a fair bit of information on this, I'll probably use faded jump cuts as well, just to transition between some of the bits. And I've also got a piece of paper with me just to prompt me about what I should be talking about, because I noticed a ton of stuff which were problems during the edits and during filming. Okay, so let me get into the first problem. Okay, one of the first problems for me was when I got back after recording with the raw files, that the WAVs just are they're not read by hardly anything. The WAV files are of a weird type. I mean, from what I understand, they're not poly WAVs, they're not BWAVs, so I'm not entirely sure what they are. Now, the first big problem with the WAVs is that, like, Windows won't open them. You know, Windows is fairly good at opening WAV files usually. My editing system, Edius, I loaded them into that. Now, although Edius would play the WAVs and it played them correctly, as in the right pitch and whatnot, so it was reading the sample frequency correctly, it didn't know how long they were, so the clock was going really crazy when it was running through. Now, from what I can understand, that's not a problem with my edit system, because I've read on some of the forums that other people are having similar issues with inside edit systems. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing with these WAVs. I don't know what formats they are properly. And the other thing is as well, the only way I could get the WAVs to actually work was to import them into Cubase by Steinberg. Now, once it was in there, and also Edius did this as well, it reported them as 4-track WAVs. So why on earth you would have 4 tracks inside what can only be at best a stereo 2-track recording is beyond me. Now, I've got a feeling, because it's being flagged as 4 tracks, I think that's why some software is going to have problems with it. Again, I don't understand why it would be 4 tracks, because, like I say, at best it can only record 2 channels, and that's left and right. So the other channels are redundant. I don't know why they're there. And like I said, I think they are going to be a bit of a problem for certain things to open up the files. So yeah, as far as being able to read as far as being able to read the files, which is the reason why you would buy the interface probably, it's quite redundant. You can't really read them that easily in many things. And also the workflow that it takes as well to resync and whatnot, you know, because you've got to like reformat the WAV file. I mean, there's a couple of things that I've used in the past, and like the likes of Edius or any decent NLE, what it'll do, if it knows that there's a video file associated with an audio file, because they have the same name, just the different file extensions, quite often they'll know to match them up. So usually what you would do, you would just pop these into a bin and they would automatically be rematched together by the NLE that you're using. Not in this instance. I've had to use a separate thing to just convert it back to a readable WAV format. So essentially I put it into Cubase, into just a 48 kilohertz project, and then just re-exported it back out. Oh yeah, and by the way, while I was in there as well, the 2 other channels were just redundant dead channels as well, but Cubase seen them as well as Edius. So yeah, that's probably what I've got to say on the WAV files. Just to reiterate again, something that I actually added back into the introduction of this video, I'd forgotten to say during the introduction, and that is, again, there was no processing going on whatsoever, so no normalization afterwards in post, and no anything as well. You got to remember, this is a test of a microphone going straight into the box and then straight into the GoPro. So all the way through this, there has been no level alterations, no compression, nothing. And then once it was in the NLE, in my instance that's Edius by Grass Valley, once it's in that, I don't touch it, I just leave it. And the reason for that is because we need to understand and need to see exactly what all the relative differences are with things. So as in, like, some people might reach straight for a normalizer once they put it in post. that's not an option for these types of tests, because we need to be as clear as we can about any and all differences during the actual acquisition of the footage. So yeah, for those instances where, you know, some people might think, oh, it's a bit low, which some of the takes are, that's exactly as they were when they went in. Okay, so yeah, that's about it as far as that's concerned. Now, the other thing as well that I don't seem to understand is the actual settings of the camera. When you plug the box in, you've got these options of like standard and standard plus. Now, they kind of make sense, but then it says powered and powered plus. Now, I'm going to assume that powered is to actually send a voltage through the interface, and by that I'd assume that would be an electric voltage for the likes of you know, like electric driven lavs and whatnot. Now, the electric voltage, I think it's about 1.5, 2 volts, something like that. So I could see that that's what it should be doing. Now, I actually put in a whole load of lavs and headsets into it, and it wouldn't power any of them. Now, unless I've misunderstood, which there's a possibility, but the setting itself would suggest that it sends power to the microphone. Now, obviously this mic would work, and this would work in just its standard mode, because the microphone has already got its own power, so it's already sending an audio signal straight into the box. But like I say, as far as it's saying power, you know, the powered version and stuff, don't know, and it's something that I couldn't quite work out. And like I say, nothing that I used which was which used electric voltages, none of them worked when they went in either, so I don't know what they were for, and I couldn't test them with anything that I'm assuming they were designed for. The other thing to note as well, in that format as well, powered, this would still work. So I'm not entirely sure again what that was all about, so I'm a little confused with that, to say the least. Oh, another thing to say as well on that whole subject of it being powered, what I don't understand is, you know, GoPro have charged like £50 and $50 for this unit, which otherwise on earlier versions of the Hero, they were only going to be like simple passive cables. Now, I'm going to assume, especially because of these so-called powered modes, that the box is capable of sending some form of power and whatnot through the box. I don't think the box itself is a preamp. There might be certain preamp settings inside to do with the plus settings, but I think they're inherent within the camera. I might be wrong, but I don't think it's the box. But at the same time, regardless of whether the box is a preamp or not, which I don't think it is, there's no reason why GoPro could not have put, especially with the size of the box, because it's very large for what it is, and it does defeat the portability of the unit to a certain degree. Now, the thing is, the box itself could have actually been kitted out with phantom power. Now, that could have either have been through say some form of like small adapter to large adapter, or they could have made it just a bit bigger and put a mini XLR on it as well. Now, that would have been a hell of a lot more useful than just keeping stuck to like certain formats which, you know, you can't power certain mics with. So as for instance, if they'd have put a 48 volt phantom on it, which they could have driven easily, and they could have done that with an extra battery in. I mean, I think is IK Multimedia and whatnot, they do certain devices where they put a little 9 volt battery in. So if you're going to go to the extent of making a somewhat bulky box, then why not go the whole hog and actually make it a lot more useful than what it actually is. Yeah, so that's just a little gripe of mine. Either they should have just made a very tiny passive system, but I think with the GoPro 5, I think what they may have done is gone, do you know what, we're going to go down the Apple route here, and basically cripple everyone into using just their own stuff. So it may well be that no one can actually make passive anything for this camera, or maybe somewhere down the line somebody actually can understand the protocols used to communicate across that USB-C socket, because it won't be a standard protocol it'll be using, I wouldn't imagine, to communicate with its own box. I think that'll be some kind of bespoke functionality. Hopefully somebody gets around that and makes a smaller system, and something that's actually, you know, kind of more fair to the consumer as well as far as price is concerned. Yeah, but just to reiterate that point again, if you're going to make such a big box, should have made it phantom power and made it a hell of a lot more useful to, you know, everyone, not just people who want to put a 3.5mm jack into it. Yeah, and as far as pitch is concerned as well, I mean, the other thing you'll have noticed during the playback, if you've watched the video all the way through, you'll see a lot of bad synchronization going on. Now, that again, my edit system, Edius won't sync the picture and audio properly, and this is the embedded stuff, you know, where the AAC is interleaved with the H.264 inside its standard video file. Now, I've also read in other places as well that other people are having the same problem. Now, I don't understand why a manufacturer would use a certain codec and then wrap it with certain weirdness as well. I can't remember if it's using the .mov or the .mp4 wrapper system, but whatever it's doing, there's no reason why these things should be happening. And again, I've got the feeling it's almost like it's forcing you into using GoPro's own software, because it will work on that, but I mean, anyone who's doing anything professional, and don't forget, you know, it says GoPro, so it's not just for consumers. You know, the pro in the title, I'm assuming, is, you know, kind of like edging towards it being a professional device. Now, that being the case, I really do think that, you know, what they should be doing is making sure that they don't use any obscure or bespoke any formatting within the wrapping of the actual codecs and stuff, which it appears is to be what they're doing. Because my system, I mean, anyone who uses Edius will know it is the best NLE out there for, like, you know, for mixing and matching codecs and wrappers and formats and stuff. It's amazing at that, but it can't do that. I think I read somewhere that Vegas won't do it. It'll be interesting to see how Premiere and Avid handle it, and maybe how FCP handles it as well. And I don't know if between the earlier iterations of the Hero, if whether or not GoPro have actually, you know, kind of modified and tweaked settings within the, you know, within the wrapping of the codecs as well. That'd be interesting. But yeah, like I say, them out of sync bits that you'll have seen during the video, that was just the files not being read correctly by the NLE. Yeah, and another thing as well, as far as the picture's concerned, I mean, it can create an amazing looking picture. There's no doubt about that. But I noticed like moire effects and stuff, which I'm assuming were down to not the best downsampling. You've got to remember, inside the camera, because it's using like its full sensor to do variations of all its kind of field of views and whatnot and its various resolutions, the camera internally has to do a real-time process, and within that process, and that's going to kind of be doing all kinds of stuff, altering geometry or just straight cutting into certain parts, or maybe it's using the whole sensor to shove bits down and to resample. Now, the other thing is, I wasn't using stabilizer either, so there's no stabilizer, so it wasn't having to take account of that extra 10% of the pixels in order to move the frame within its, you know, within the frame set that you've selected. So again, with that, I don't get that either. You know, it's not something that I've particularly noticed in earlier versions of the Hero. And if you see on my blue top that I've got on in it, there's actually moire patterns going on in that. So again, don't know what that's all about. And again, something that I've never really noticed before. And I suppose that my main problem with it as well is probably going to be, is it designed for pro use? I mean, I did kind of like make a point at the start to say that I wouldn't personally use GoPros for like action stuff, and I don't see why it should be confined just to that. Yes, its form factor and its, you know, its ruggedness and whatnot, they all lend for it to be, you know, an action cam, but it's a camera nonetheless, and they are capable of taking like super pictures. And like I said before, I think, you know, there's the possibilities that you could use it for like certain like doc type stuff and interview stuff. And if you're going to do that, really what you want to do is, like, you know, capture the audio with the camera as best as possible. Now, this is exactly what I thought I was gonna get with the box plugged into the GoPro, and especially considering the cost of the box and what have you, and all the various functions like this, you know, the raw recording and all the rest of it. But I really don't get it. It's not, you know, it doesn't feel professional at all. And given that it doesn't, well, I don't think it's a professional unit, the box at least, given that, the price is ridiculous. So if they're trying to, you know, I think charging that to consumers who otherwise, you know, might be using microphones that don't even cost as much as the box does, I kind of think that's asking a bit too much from the end user, especially after they've already invested in what is, you know, an expensive camera in the first place. Yeah, so as far as is it a professional system? I don't know. I mean, you can coax a great picture out of it, but can you use it to record uncompressed audio and plug a good microphone into it and have options for the mic recordings? Well, no, you can't. I mean, the actual standard mode and then the plus mode, powered or unpowered, you're only getting 2 options as far as your gain is concerned. And there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't have added a gain function or a level function within inside the camera, so you could actually, choose your own input level for an external microphone. Again, I don't get any of that. So just to say again, I actually feel quite let down by it, and to be honest, I'm very, very underwhelmed as well, and extremely disappointed. And it'll all be going back. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm just going to go back to a 3, because I'm not gaining a super amount. So I'm definitely not gaining what I was led to believe I could have done with the system. So unfortunately, it is all going to go back. And also as well, on top of that, as far as like these so-called like professional options, like recording this so-called raw audio. And by the way, calling it raw audio, they should have just called it WAV. It's not, there's nothing raw about it as such. It's just a standard PCM audio track. That's all it is, either with a ton of processing or what they say is low processing. Again, why not give it to say no processing, so you're straight in and straight out in just pure PCM WAV formats? I don't get that either. It's just, again, that just seems a little bit odd. But on that point as well, as you'll have heard in some of the tests, actually not using the raw in certain instances is actually a better option. I can't remember which one was it. I think maybe just the standard plus, but not done in raw, is actually not that bad. I'm going to say not that bad. For an AAC encode compared to a WAV, it's the lines very blurred, and I would have thought that there would have been two definitive lines in that, but it doesn't seem to be. It just seems to be one blurred line. So again, the advantages to shooting in that format, I'm not entirely sure. Now, there is one test that I didn't do, and it might be good for this. I don't know, but I wouldn't know because 1, I wanted to just use a microphone with it, and 2, I didn't want to add more kit to the equation. Now, there is an option of recording line-in. Now, that line-in in that mode, as a professional, like anyone professionally involved in audio, whether it's studio audio or camera audio, whatever, anyone who's involved in doing proper audio would know that if something possesses a line input, then it's down to you to actually preamp that and get all the levels and the gains right going in. Now, in that instance, it may be brilliant, I don't know. So as for instance, you may want to use that, say, I don't know, you're recording gigs or something, and you want to take the desk sound and feed that straight in. In that instance, I'm going to assume it'll be okay, because I think it just opens up the box to be a straight stereo line input. Don't know what that is. I'm imagining it's just going to be a -10 in. So when you do that, maybe it's going to be great, I don't know. And if that is the case, then obviously if you use the microphone with a preamp after it but ahead of the box, then you would get the advantage of line in to be able to balance it the way that you want. You won't see any VUs or nothing on the screen, but a couple of tests would give you the right audio to be able to gauge what your level's gone like going in. So in that scenario, yeah, I could see that being useful, but definitely not for like a handheld device. I mean, I know some people are going to say, well, look, you're using a shotgun mic, who's going to use one of them with a GoPro? Well, like I said before, my particular use of this is to have the most ultra smallest compact shooting setup for doing interviews and jumping in and out that quick. And I did actually try this mounted to the top, keeping it outside the field of view, and you can get in close, get a nice frame and record a great audio with it. So yeah, for certain instances that would be great, but like I say, I just feel like completely limited and crippled by some of the options. Yeah, okay, so in summary, massively disappointed, hugely disappointed, and I really expected way more than what I got from doing all these tests. Now, I don't know whether or not GoPro are gonna proper go down that route of like, well, we'll fix it with firmware and whatever, but really, £400 for the camera and then £50 to put a microphone in it. You'd expect these things to be working straight off bat. Now, if these things are hardware limitations and they're not fixable via firmware or software updates, then that's even worse, you know what I mean? So would I recommend this system? Unfortunately, absolutely not. Not to anyone who's expecting full manipulation over their audio. And that full manipulation is what would be totally expected from, you know, the way that these things are actually sold and publicized. Is it great for vloggers? Well, to a degree, yes, because a vlogger, for instance, might just want to use one of them small little, you know, condenser video microphones and bolt it onto the top and then just lash the unit. I mean, it is a little bit cumbersome. You've still got to lash the box on somewhere. But a vlogger, I think, could get away with some of the boosted modes and whatnot. The other thing to note as well with the boosted modes, it feels like it does a heavy, well, it is a heavy compression, or well, heavy limiting. And luckily, I think it stops it just, so that's my phone, I think it stops it just ahead of pure clipping. So the signal that's actually being recorded would appear not to be digitally clipped at the recording. And it looks like I don't know whether it's an analog or it's a very wide digital dynamic input, that's then compressed and limited. But however they go about it, yes, you can hear the heavy compression, but at least it doesn't clip on the recording, or at least it didn't with me. So yes, I could see that being of some good use to vloggers, especially if they happen to have a microphone which has got, or happens to just fall in line with the sensitivity of the unit as well. So yeah, it can work for certain people, but again, in that instance, charge someone £50 just to plug a microphone in, and also a microphone that may not even cost as much as the £50 box. I mean, come on, it's kind of, it seems a little bit like robbery to me. They could have done this with, like I said earlier, a much smaller system. Hopefully they will, you know, take these things on board, you know, in the future. Maybe they release other smaller units, but like I say, no, I just can't recommend this at all whatsoever. Anyway, I think that's probably it. I'm kind of like running the risk of coming off like I'm just kind of ranting here, but I'm not, because, you know, I love GoPros and I love what you can do with them, or the potential of what you can do. I just couldn't recommend this particular setup for doing this type of stuff that I set out to do with it. Yeah, the other thing I'm going to do as well is I'm going to do another video, so either check the links at some point, or I might have one of them overlays on this video at some point. And what it is, I'm going to actually sit down and show the audio WAV issues on a couple of me bits of software. So I'll just kind of do a little walkthrough as to the proper issues, and also the issues to do with the you know, all like the moire effects and stuff, and the out of sync stuff in the NLE and things like that. Okay, so I know this is rabbited on and on and on, but there has been a lot of information to actually get out there to justify my conclusion, and all that, you know, and also the previous footage has already justified what I'm saying anyway. So yeah, if anyone's lasted this long into it, thanks very much. Yeah, you deserve a medal. So yeah, call back anyway. I'll be doing some more stuff, hopefully more GoPro stuff in the future, with the 5, or maybe possibly wait for the 6. I don't know. So anyway, take care. Goodbye now.